All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Elevate Your Grind, brought to you by the Cannabis Lab. I am your host, Todd Rosales, and boy, do we have a special episode for you today. Actually, I should probably clean up behind myself a little bit here, but as you can see, I am not in our typical studio. I don't have my regular microphone. All of this has been done just for today. In fact, you should actually be able to see two views of me. And for the first time ever, you can see our guest, because we have a very special episode for you today. So I've been talking about this one for a while. We are doing our first cooking episode of Elevate Your Grind, and who better to do it with than Shadi Ramey, the author of the first fully hemp cookbook. And when I say fully hemp, I don't mean fully hemp recipes. It was even printed on hemp paper, right? We are heading in the right direction, folks. So with that being said, I would typically go into a whole lot of announcements and everything else. The only announcement I have for you guys this Thursday, 4:20 p.m., we have an awesome panel for you on edibles. I don't have all the information yet because it's just being finalized, but we've got Big Pete's Treats, Wana Brands, Pantry, and a few more great companies. So check that out this Thursday, 4:20 p.m. You can find that. JoinCLab.com. We have another episode with my good friend Steve Ernest on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. That's going to be right here, facebook.com/Cannabis Group. And of course, if you miss any of these episodes, or if you really want to check out this episode when we're done with it so you can make the good stuff that we're making here today, you can find that at youtube.com/Elevate Your Grind. So Shadi, we're here, we're cooking. This is either the best or worst idea I've ever had for this show, and we'll find out at the end. So let's start with a little bit with you first before we get into you roasting me on the way that I'm going to cook. But tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to write this book, and then B, go all the way with the hemp paper and all that great stuff.
Okay. What drove me to write the book was really feeling like there was a gap or a need to really explore like the gastronomy of hemp, like in a way that was really elevated, like beyond smoothies and salads, and also to use hemp as like a thread for a tapestry that kind of explored cannabis in a way that I hadn't seen done before. And then also, yeah, I had been living with hemp for a while as a hemp farmer in 2015, and I had the opportunity to grow cannabis and be with it on a daily basis. And then it just became something that I like immersed in that whole year of 2015. I just started cooking with it, which I had never really done before, and juicing it. And yeah, so that was the motivation, was really feeling like there was a need, and then really wanting to bring my like high vibe, elevated recipes to the world with hemp.
Very cool. And I got to tell you, as someone who's not a vegan, not all that healthy and everything else, you know, when you had told me that it was a vegan cookbook, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find anything that I'm going to want to eat. And I got to tell you, after going through the book, the hardest thing for me to do was whittle down the amount of recipes just for this show, because I'm like, ooh, peanut butter cups, brownie energy bites, apple crumble, apple this, cornbread, like even the cauliflower roast, like all of these things. I think I actually had about 10 recipes that I wanted to do before I settled on the two that we're picking for today. So that was the first thing that stood out in my eyes. If folks, listen, if you're like me and you're a carnivore and everything else, I promise you, check out this book and you are going to see some things that are going to open your eyes that you're going to want to try. Because I am a carnivore through and through. I eat animal protein with almost every meal, and we can have that discussion another time. But I went through this book and it was hard for me to find. I had to whittle it down to 2, and I didn't even get down to 2. I sent you 3 and you're like, you're being a little ambitious, Todd. I'm like, all right, cool. That's fine. I'll just make one on my own without you then. So I commend you, but was that part of your goal, was to not just target who you would think would be the audience for this book, but make it a lot more for the general public? I mean, I think this is a way that a lot of people should look to eat. And your cookbook is an easy way for me to get people into that way of eating.
Thank you so much. Well, to answer your question, I really didn't write it for a specific demographic or a group of people. I wrote it because I wanted to highlight hemp, and my in 2007, I started a product line in Boulder at the farmer's market, and I wanted to make like ethnically diverse dips and spreads, like hummus, different like Middle Eastern, like meze, things like this. And then at that point, I had been vegetarian and vegan before that, but I wanted to have like yogurt and different feta and everything. And then somebody was like, it's going to be really hot in Boulder in the summer at the farmer's market. So you don't, be careful of the dairy. And then at that point, I decided to make my first vegan, make the company vegan. And then since then, I feel like, and I talk about this in the book where it's really not a dissertation on veganism. There's like no judgment around it or anything like that. Just, I believe that we can all really increase our vitality by eating more plants.
So listen, I got to tell you, as somebody who personally needs to eat more plants, I'm going to leverage your book to do that. So I'm very happy. So I decided you were gracious enough to let me pick the recipes, but essentially we're going to make two things today. And I kind of we're going to try to make two things. We might run out of time because I'm not the greatest cook in the world. And I just want to let everybody know, this is open to my entire house. So we might see a cameo from my dog or my wife or someone in my family. So just stay tuned for that. But I'm not even doing this from a comedy bit. I'm just honestly trying to set the stage for everybody here. But so we're going to make first the apple crumble pie. Is it the apple crumble pie? Is that the official?
It's hemp apple crumble.
Hemp apple crumble, which I'm really excited about. And I think that's perfect for Thanksgiving. And then if we can get to it, we're going to make the banana cornbread muffins as well, too. So these are awesome. And then behind the scenes at some point this week, I'm personally going to make the peanut butter cups because who doesn't love peanut butter cups, right? So let's get started. What's our first step? I got to get apples and I got to get a knife, right?
Yes, please. A cutting board, which you have.
I do. Let's change the view so people can see me cut my fingers off here. Bam. We got our apples right here behind me. Take those out. And let's get a knife. This should work. All right. So I'm just cut. So how do we start here? Just cut around the core?
Well, you're going to wash the apples and you're going to slice them in half through the middle.
Okay. Let's go off camera here first. So keep talking. I'm just going off camera to wash the apples.
Okay. Well, I wanted to read the story about the crumble, but I want to get you through the cutting it first.
Okay, cool. I mean, if you see a finger get cut off, just feel free to cut to the story.
Okay, look down.
All right.
Okay. So you're going to wash it in half through the middle, and then they'll just star there. No.
Did I cut it the wrong way? I cut it the wrong way, didn't I?
Yeah, if you cut it in, I want you to just cut it in half through the other middle.
0 for 1.
Yes, please.
Oh, there we go. There's your star, ladies and gentlemen. I did it right.
You did. So you can make a wish now.
I wish this show goes well.
Okay. So now you're just going to slice the apple and then you're going to chop it into, cut each slice into thirds and then chop those.
Cool.
Not too small, like not a dice, but like a good chunk that you would like to get into your fork.
Okay. I see where you're going with that. I like that. A little smaller there. So bigger than I would feed my 1-year-old, but not too small.
Okay, perfect.
I got to do this for 6 apples, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I might have to speed up a little bit here. Bam. Good thing I got my trash open right next to me. That's what they don't show you on any cooking shows. They never show you the cleanup.
Nope. So
tell me, while I'm cutting the rest of the apples, because I've got 6 of them here, now let's get into the story behind it, because I love hearing the stories behind food. I wouldn't even say a closet obsession, especially since the pandemic. The amount of cooking shows that I've watched and tried to learn from, I'm just enamored. So, and there's so much to it. I don't know if you watch on Netflix Chef Show with Jon Favreau, or is that not like a thing that other chefs do?
No, I definitely do that. I mean, I like my favorite cooking show right now is A Chef's Table.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
That's on Netflix too, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's so beautiful. So that, yeah, definitely other chefs watch chef shows.
Okay, good.
Homework. It's so good to you learn so much.
I,
So I'm just going to read this little story. Each of the recipes in the book has a title and then like a little story and then the ingredients instructions. So here it is for hemp apple crumble. I love apple harvest time in Colorado. I know it means the end of summer and marks the beginning of fall. This recipe is super easy to make, delicious, and a great dish to share. Serve warm with your favorite plant-based ice cream. This is a great dish to take to potlucks and share with your neighbors and friends. So I'm really into pie. I love baking a pie. I love like the spiritual therapeutic component of baking. And I just love like, I feel like when you bake a pie, like really just like immerse it with love and then like share it with other people and share love like that. And then also wanting to temper like my carb intake and just having flour of any kind. So that's why I wanted to make it more of a crumble. So it didn't have the crust. And so that the fruit was going right into the baking dish. And then that we were like really spending time on the crumble so that it was just like crunchy and sugary, not too sweet, but just right. That's what I was going for.
See, that's awesome because you had all these desires and you wanted to take something that you loved and make it kind of fit your diet. So having the knowledge that you have that ability to start playing around and experimenting. That, to me, that's the coolest thing about cooking, right? Especially if you have the knowledge that you have is, oh, I see it. Are you watching my fingers? There one might be missing already. Watch out there. But I love that you're able to take the things that you love and adapt them to fit into your diet so it makes sense. And that's one of my favorite things about cooking, and especially my favorite part about your book, because you see all the alternative options that are being added to these recipes. And, you know, it makes them healthier, and we still get that same experience of all the food that we love, but we get them in a much purer form, a much more natural form. And that's amazing. And I think with Thanksgiving coming up, this is, listen, we're going to focus with this one because I think this is something that everybody should be bringing to your next Thanksgiving. I probably shouldn't point at the camera with the knife. They might get some cops at my door or something here.
Yeah, it would be great at Thanksgiving, and then you can use any kind of ice cream you want. Those would be the two things to take.
You sold me with ice cream. All right, we're gonna have to speed up a little bit here.
So what are you doing for Thanksgiving with COVID?
We're gonna have a family Thanksgiving outside. We hopefully, because we are in South Florida, hopefully it does not rain. But we're going to do everything outside because I have a 1-year-old and we want her to spend Thanksgiving with her cousins. So we're going to do our best. How about yourself?
Awesome. Love it.
You have any special plans for Thanksgiving?
I don't. I'm going to some friends' house. What is it called? Friendsgiving?
Friendsgiving. That's always a fun one.
I'm Friendsgiving and I'm not cooking.
So are you happy that you're not cooking, or are you sitting there like, I hope the food's going to be good. Maybe I should bring something just in case.
No, I'll definitely, I like to take, I'll take a dish, like a savory dish. And then I always like to bake something.
Very cool. Yeah. I imagine having you as a friend is always good when there's parties involved.
That's true. That's true. It's a perk.
All
so
right.
I didn't answer the question about the hemp paper. So I'm going to get to it while you're dicing the apples. Okay.
Good.
So the hemp paper, well, when the book project first started in 2017, where I had really decided I was going to do the book and bring it to life, I was like really inspired in part by my ego and wanting to stroke it and wanting to create, like I think a lot of chefs do, you know, like a little piece of your culinary legacy through a book, right? With like, especially now with like amazing photos and just really gorgeous works of art, right? And so that's what I really wanted to create. And that was always my plan. And then last year, it hit my radar about the super toxic nature of the publishing industry, which I hadn't really considered before. I had been like, you know, super upset about fracking when I learned about that, super upset about GMOs when I learned about that. and just the toxic food system in general. But printing and publishing hadn't hit my radar. And so when I was exploring printing for the book, and then I found out it's one of the top 5 toxic industries that pollutes planet Earth, then I said to myself,
Wow.
I need to do this really differently. And so what are my choices? And then I was like, I have to print it on hemp paper. But up until then, I had only seen hemp paper like in a booklet, like at a conference.
Yeah.
Where people do just like a little booklet, right, for the show. And so I reached out to these people I know who do hemp printing, and they're like self-proclaimed leaders, like lots of other people in the cannabis industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, I want to get some pricing on the hemp paper, and they're like, no, that's not cost effective. You can't do that. You go do it on recycled paper. And I was like, what? I mean, if I just stopped every time someone closed the door or something, and I wouldn't have gotten very far in my life. So,
and that doesn't sound like a very good salesperson. I'd be like, oh, that sounds good. It might be a little expensive, but we can make it work.
Totally. And it's not good leadership, right? So, and they have a printing company and a hemp printing company. And so then I took that opportunity and got my sword out, like my Ganesh sword, and just started looking, and it was lots of closed doors. And then when I did get pricing, it was so outrageous because it's very, very expensive to print on hemp paper. And then again, I just felt like it's really opportunity to show leadership to really show leadership in the new cannabis economy. I think that's really important for a lot of us to do that right now. And especially where we are, with life on earth, and to be good stewards and really do the right thing when no one's looking. That's like a really big part. That's like my mission in general around my project. So that's how the hemp paper happened. And then I found an organization that I really love, that will be announcing with the release of the book out of Cali, and we partnered up with them. And so, yeah, I mean, I believe it's one of the first books printed on hemp paper ever, because books weren't really printed on hemp. There were some pamphlets and such, which I talk about in the book, but really, and certainly the first cookbook. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of the hemp paper aspect of it. And the entire project is also carbon neutral.
Very cool. This is what I love. I love the example that you're setting. And, I think it's interesting with the hemp plant, it gives us a really unique situation. Whereas in the past, I think a lot of people were hesitant for sustainable things or different things than what they're used to, because it wasn't the same thing. It was always like a lesser version of something that was good enough. The example I always give is the paper straws, right? Those things are a giant pain in the butt. And then even on top of that, paper isn't that much better than plastic. You're replacing one problem with another. But for the first time ever with hemp, you really have something that is as equal to, if not better than the original product, right? When you look at hemp plastics or hemp paper or any of the things that we can replace with hemp, you are looking at something that is just as good or better than what we had before. And it's funny, I could be wrong about this, but it's not the first book on hemp. It is the first modern book on hemp, because as I remember, all the books back in the day were printed on hemp paper. So you're just picking up a long lost tradition.
Yes, books were written on hemp. Yes.
Printed. Good point.
And it hasn't really been for a long time, and certainly not since the early 1900s,
Yeah. So that's very cool. When you talk about leaders in the space, you're leading by example. You're showing that not only am I going to write about this and make it, better for you and better food and everything else, but you're also going to do it in a better way for the environment. So everything that you're doing is backing up the main point, which to me is what this industry needs more of.
Thank you so much.
Oh, happy to say it. And then I actually also saw the other day, Steve D'Angelo giving you a shout out.
Yeah, I'm super grateful for connecting with Steve, and we're giving $1 per book sold to the Last Prisoner Project. So that's something that I really care about. Believe that nobody should have ever been imprisoned for growing, possessing, consuming cannabis. And I think it's like one of the worst things that we've done with our political just our shitstorm, the political shitstorm of imprisonment. And so I'm very happy for the connection with Steve. We're also doing a farm dinner on April 17th, 2021, which is when we're launching our Hemp Can Change the World book tour. We're doing a Kush farm to table dinner in San Francisco, and
very cool.
Of that whole evening of profits will be of sales of that evening will be donated to the Last Prisoner Project.
Very cool. So there is a ton of social justice and everything else tied in with this book. I mean, folks, overall, you should feel good about buying this in so many different ways. You feel good about your health, feel good about the environment, feel good about helping out Last Prisoner Project. So the dinner, what does a dinner like that entail? Is it going to be like a 4 or 5 course meal with hemp infused products? Is it going to be stuff from the book? Or are you going to be doing THC infused stuff? Just give me an idea of what that dinner is going to look like.
Yeah, so this is something that I've curated the evening, and it's an exploration of the Kush.
Okay.
So I'm a Kush girl. I'm from the Kush region of the world, and so is Cannabis. And so throughout the 5 courses, we'll be exploring the Kush through music, food, and cannabis. For this event, we're pairing. We're going to be consuming by mostly smoking cannabis.
Okay, so you just found the way to my heart, because I see a lot of these infused dinners, and that's cool. Like, if that's your thing, that's great. I'm not someone who likes to do edibles or anything else like that, and I always joke, I'd say I would love to consume cannabis and then enjoy a really good meal. Like totally. That, I want to keep them separate. Like, yes, totally. Maybe I'm going to try those infused meals. I'm not someone who won't try something once, but what you're saying is so ideal to me, because I don't want to say I learned, but probably about 2-3 months ago, I had a buddy over and we made a nice Italian meal for dinner. And it just so happened that night I had rolled one of the king palms, right? I had rolled the joint with a king palm leaf, and he had brought over a really nice bottle of wine. And I can tell you from that experience that we were drinking the wine and we were smoking the king palm, and they just complemented each other so well. And I remember thinking, like, I wish I knew someone who was, which I do now, I wish I knew someone who was an expert in this so they could help me kind of do these pairings, because this is so enjoyable. So like when you say that, and I know I cut you off, that's exactly what someone like me would be looking for. And I think that's going to be a really cool experience. And I hope you do more of those.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we got to do it closer to you so it'll be easy for you to get there.
I can get out to San Fran. I need to get out to San Fran.
Well, let's plan it, put it on your calendar for 420 weekend, because we're going to be chomping at the bit to get out and to go travel again and go live life. And that's the plan.
Very cool.
I'm going to make it happen. So, and I'm not an expert. I'm just like a big nerd.
You know what? Most experts are big nerds. We just don't want to call ourselves experts.
But yeah, and just to your point, I personally don't eat edibles at all. I don't, because for me, since I was 19 and I first made and ate pop brownies, and then I was like locked, like basically couch locked in a closet with my 2 besties for like this whole party. We missed this whole party in this closet. That's not my vibe. It's like tripping. It's like a trip out. It's not like it, right? And I don't feel, that doesn't make me feel good. I have a lot of responsibilities. Like, I'm not in a place to just go trip out on eating ganja at this point in life. And I also, as a professional, I do not like that responsibility for other people. I don't want that, because you can really get like super, excuse my French, fucked up on edibles.
Yeah, no, I think anybody who's a cannabis consumer has that one story, and you really have to figure them out, because when you're smoking a bowl or a joint or whatever you want to do, when you use an inhalation method, it's really easy halfway through the joint to be like, okay, I'm good. Let me flick that away. Let me put it out. I'm done. With an edible, you're along for the ride. And listen, there are people who do them. They know them well. They know their body. And a few people lately have told me, once you figure out the hydration, you're good. I haven't gotten into that so far yet, so I can't tell you. But hey, maybe another episode for another show. So All right, so we've got the apples done. It took me, took me having you tell multiple stories when you probably could have done that like, but what do we do next?
Okay, so now you're going to heat your pan to like
Heat
a
my
medium.
pan.
Yeah.
So we're using, what kind of pan are we using here? Like a
cast iron skillet would be the best if you have it, or like a shallow pan. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So heat this.
Good. It's gonna look cool.
Sweet.
Yep.
All right, we got the pan in the oven.
Okay.
So pan's in the oven. Sorry, we've got people in the household talking to me here.
Okay.
What do you need? Yeah, you can go over there. The camera's right here. I told you folks, we're having cameos from the whole family today. You're not on camera, you're good. So, okay, we got cast iron in the oven. We got our apples chopped. What's my next step? Or are we waiting on the cast iron? Oh, ruh-roh, that's not good. Lost my sound. I'm still, can you hear me now?
I can.
I'm back. Okay, cool. Yep. So we got the cast iron in the oven. We got the apples cut. Am I doing something else now, or are we waiting on the cast iron?
No, we're good. We can just do that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we just need like a couple minutes or
Perfect.
A minute or two for the pan to heat up.
Let me be smart about this. Put one of these down for when I take it out of the oven. And we'll use one of these to grab it.
Yep. Good.
All right. I like this whole cooking show stuff.
It's good. You're doing so good.
It's funny. There's a comedian I really like, and his name is Bert Kreischer. And, I think it's funny. So he graduated Florida State 5 years before me, but the story of Dan Wilder is based off this guy. He was in school for like 7-8 years, and he's a stand-up comedian now. And as all of us, we all want to do these things, but he started his own cooking show because it's the internet and he can do it. And it's just him and his friends getting together and just trying to cook and laughing the whole time. So when Cynthia introduced me to you, I'm just like, oh my God, we're ripping off Something's Burning, which is Bert's show. I go, it's not going to be the most professional cooking show, but we're certainly going to have fun filming it.
Of course, it's awesome. I love it.
So have you always been a chef? Was there anything else you do? Is that something you wanted to do when you were younger?
No, it's not. I never thought I would do that. In my experience of cooking was, like first generation Persian. I am a first generation Persian. And my mom and my aunts would cook for hours, like hours. To them, it's like, there is no slow food movement. It was always slow food. It was always intuitive. They didn't use recipes. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Your video is frozen, but you're still talking.
Okay, good. And they would make all this really beautiful food. But to me, it was like, it was something I appreciated. I think I only appreciated it so much until I was an adult, right? Because I didn't really see the value of that. And I actually was in undergrad, I studied anthropology and sociology. And then I went to New Mexico State for my master's work, and I was working on cultural anthropology. And so I was really interested in like the plight of like the third world people, and community development and indigenosity. That was like really what motivated me. I was like I kind of got like radicalized then as a revolutionary, and really wanting to show up for the underdog and just like experiencing culture and traveling a lot. That was like really important to me. And then with my master's work was on, there was like a new thing called sustainable development and ecotourism. So I went to Nepal to study the sustainability of ecotourism within the third world context. And that was my research. And so after graduate school, I became a professor of anthropology and world cultural geography, and I taught in DC and Vermont. And then I became a parent, and it was apparent to me that I really loved cooking. I started cooking a lot as a mom and I was like staying at home with my baby, and just started exploring all these different places that I loved through food. That was like my jam. And and then in 2006 was like, there was like an event in Vermont, like a multicultural big event, because Vermont's like pretty white bread. And I was like, it's 2005, and I got my first stand, and I made like hummus and tabbouleh and like Middle Eastern meze spread and sold that. And that was like when I started doing food then was
Very
like
cool.
that. Yeah.
See, I love those. Like, listen, everybody who wanted to be a chef or something when they were a little kid and grew up and followed your dreams, that's awesome. And those are great stories. But for some reason, I have this affinity for the stories like yours, where you had, I don't want to say this whole old life, but you had a completely different life. And just through living that life, you realize later on, like, hey, I really love doing this. And I think that I'd be really good at it if I started doing it, because I love doing it all the time. Not that you didn't love what you did before, but to find that passion and chase it, especially after you've lived a different life, is unique. And I think it's incredible. I think it's a testament to passion, right? And I can tell that's why you're probably so fired up. And when it came to the whole printing on hemp paper, why you never took no for an answer, because you're just like, no, this is what I'm doing. Like, you had the experience and everything else. I'm sure you took the no's back in your past life, but you're like, no, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing it my way, and I'm going to get it done.
Thank you.
Yes. Listen, for people out there, like with me, right? I have a day job. I've been in sales and marketing forever, but by night I set up a little webcam, I put on a microphone, and here I am. I play Howard Stern for the next hour or so, right? But I grew up in New Jersey and moved to Florida. I was a huge Howard Stern fan. Then when podcasting came out, I started looking at these comedians. There's a guy, I don't tell these stories too often, but there's a guy, Brendan Schaub, who was an ex-UFC fighter, is in the NFL, and now he's a stand-up comedian and a podcaster. And I look at people like that who have this first career and then they start over in something else. It's like I'm doing a puppet show here. And I'm just like, see, that's incredible for me now, 34 years old, to moonlight as a podcaster and put together these shows. I hope that there are other people out there that are, maybe they're not happy with what they're doing, or they are happy with what they're doing, but there's something they always wanted to try. To go try it. Just go try it, figure it out, give it a shot. Maybe you'll be successful, maybe you won't be, but you're certainly not going to have any regrets. And I mean, I think a story like yours certainly inspires people like me to continue to do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's what I do.
Well, plus, and I think to your point, it's like life is short and it's also long.
Yeah.
And like my ex-father-in-law worked for AT&T for 40 years of his life. Like, I like when he would tell us that, I felt sad for him. I mean, I don't really say anything because I want to judge him, but it was like, that's kind of sucks. You know? Like, to do one thing and it to be that, and people I think are like, and that's what about COVID too. It's like life's just getting shorter, and like we really need to like carpe diem and seize the moment and like be true to ourselves. That's been one of the greatest teachings from COVID for me, is like, do what you want now. What are you even waiting for? Don't wait.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it was actually because of COVID. We started this podcast in January, end of January, and then COVID hit in March. We had done 7 episodes. And then once COVID hit, we started doing them 4 or 5 days a week. And we were starting to get guests like Emily Paxio, like Steve D'Angelo, like Evan Britton, Ricky Williams, right? So, it was incredible. Like, listen, the pandemic was horrible and everything else, but it was here. And we all had to figure out how to adjust to it. And I hate saying it, without the pandemic, I don't know if I would have had the courage or the drive to continue to do this, right? And I think a lot of people are starting to take stock in what they were doing and using it as an opportunity to try something else. I mean, I think a lot of people went on YouTube. Most of you, I'd like you to get off YouTube so there's more room for me, but we'll talk about that in another time. All you podcasters, all you companies that started a podcast just because it was COVID, come on, give us a chance. But
is your pan hot?
I would imagine it is.
Okay. Now we can put in when it's warm, wait, did you put that in the oven?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. But then where are you going to cook everything? Like, we're going to saute for a little bit.
Ah.
Are you going to use the stove?
I got a stove behind me here.
Okay, cool.
That was my mistake. When you said heat up the pan, I'm like, I don't know why I put it in the oven. All right, we're on the stove. With the medium heat?
Medium.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Is this going to reach over? Let's see if we can help.
Do you have your coconut oil ready?
I do have my coconut oil ready. I'm trying to see if I can adjust our little camera view here.
Okay.
This is probably a horrible idea, but there. Okay, coconut oil.
Okay.
Hold on, it's behind the camera. All right, we've got coconut oil.
Okay, cool.
How's that camera angle? That's good enough.
Your amount. Wait, do you know it? Let me look. Wow. 3 tablespoons.
3 tablespoons, perfect. Folks, just like your favorite bands, we learn the chefs don't know the recipes the same way that bands don't know the lyrics to the song. No, I'm kidding. All right, put them right in the pan.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Okay, then you're gonna put the apples in.
Spread that around a little bit first so it looks like I know what I'm doing.
Did you use MCT oil?
Coconut oil?
That's in a liquid? Interesting.
It's in an oil form.
Okay. Usually that's like MCT oil.
We have this too.
Because coconut oil, yeah, would be solid. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, that's cool. That works. Which you had works.
Listen, folks at home, do it right. All right, let's stop. Am I gonna be able to get all these in here?
Well,
don't mind the mess. So what should I use to move everything around?
Spatula or tongs?
All right, let's use the tongs. See, now that I actually have to cook, now that we've gone beyond cutting and putting stuff in the oven, you're going to see my amateurness here.
Okay, no, I love it. It's great.
Should I fill it up higher?
Is it sizzling?
Yeah. You just can't hear it on camera.
Yeah, I think it's good on the medium, unless you trust your intuition.
I'm going to turn it up a little bit because this stove kind of stinks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's making, we got some good sizzle going on here.
Okay, great.
It's a good thing we don't have enough time to show the finished product. That would probably not help your book sales if they saw the one that I'm going to make, but.
That's okay. All right, so we're going to do it for like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Are you going to set a timer or should I?
5 minutes. Can you set a timer?
I'll 5 minutes. I can do 5 minutes.
My phone is filming us.
Yep, I got it.
Cool. It's cool though. When you do your book tour, you can tell everybody about being on this show. You'll be like, listen, anybody can cook this. I was on this one podcast. This guy had no clue what he was doing and it came out okay.
It's a perk.
You know, you just use this as a training ground for the actual book tour. If you guys,
what just happened for cannabis in Florida with the voting?
So nothing happened yet. So everything in Florida, well, actually the one thing that did happen, so my good friend Eric Stevens is the one who keeps me up to date on this. I like to shout him out because he has his own show. But so we had a weird ballot initiative. I'm going to screw this up, where essentially they're trying to pass it where if you wanted to have a new law or something along those lines, it actually has to be approved in 2 concurrent elections. So if we wanted cannabis, we'd have to vote it on 2022 and 2024. That got shot down. So recreational cannabis should be back on the ballot in 2022. However, everything in Florida is held up on one court case called the Flora Grown case. So what we have in Florida here is vertical integration. And Flora Grown is to help break up vertical integration. So we have 22 licenses that were given out in a state of, I don't know, 30 million people, right? So what we're trying to do is break it up so there's lower barrier entry and more people can get into the market. However, we're getting, some people are buying the licenses on the secondary market. It's not where it should be for a state the size of the state of Florida, right? So that everybody's held up on the Flora Grown case. There's been 2 hearings, which is by the Supreme Court of Florida, which is unheard of. They never hear anything twice, and we still don't have a result.
Wow. So is there just medical? Is there medical now?
It is medical. You know, there's medical with strict rules. They make it very medical-like, if that makes sense. Like the packaging is very plain, like pharmaceutical style. The dispensaries, for the most part, are supposed to feel very clinicky. But we have some really good companies here that are doing good stuff. I think we're over 400,000 patients now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huge.
It's 400,000 out of 30 million people.
Is it 30 million?
I think the population of Florida is something along those lines.
That's almost 10% of the country?
I think so.
Let me Google that.
Google that. I've never had a fact checker on this show, so.
Let's ask the Google. I told you I was a nerd. Hold on.
I think I'm right. I only know it because of all the coronavirus stuff. Oh, this smells so good.
It's getting appley in there.
Oh, yeah. It smells like a pie already.
Is it pie? Okay, let me see.
It smells like a pie already. Let's see how far.
21.5. 21 million.
I'm off by 8.5. I'm counting all the New Yorkers that are currently moving to Florida because of the state income tax.
That's still huge.
Yeah. So 400,000 patients out of 21.5 million people. We have a large senior citizen population that can obviously benefit from it. And just, I mean, listen, from a tax dollar standpoint, when they go full rec, who doesn't want to come to Florida and sit on the beach and use cannabis? I mean,
of course.
It should be the official plant of Key West.
Yes, awesome. I've never been there.
Oh, Key West is the best. It's just such a laid back atmosphere. Like you go down there and you're on island time. Like you go to a restaurant, the service is going to be slow, but hey, it's Key West.
That's awesome. I really, really, really miss the beach. And I'm stuck in Colorado right now.
Ooh, I mean, I don't want to say I miss the snow, but I would love to be able to ski.
It's snowing a lot today, and our gas was leaking, so we don't have heat tonight until the guy comes tomorrow.
That is not fun.
That's why I'm wearing this.
I just thought it fit with the whole persona.
Well, it has mushrooms. See these little mushrooms? See?
Very cool.
Yeah. That's another show, mushrooms.
We haven't gotten there yet. We're still sticking to the Cannabis Lab stuff. Although I will say, everybody down here that's doing cannabis, a lot of them are looking at just the holistic plant view, and a lot of them are getting into the mushroom stuff, especially from a mental health standpoint. That's something I'm super interested in. My wife, who was poking around here earlier, she used to be an addiction counselor. So to leverage something like that to help people with addiction, to help them with PTSD, again, everything for me goes back to comedy. You know, I remember Gary Goldman, who's a comedian, who was talking about doing the ketamine therapy and how much it helped him. So that's just really interesting to me, but we're still stuck on the cannabis show.
No, that's awesome. Of course. Same. I just love mushrooms too. I mean, as a chef, you know.
Oh yeah. That's, I was watching the chef show, and they had in Wolfgang Cook's kitchen, they were talking about the chanterelle mushrooms that they put on morels. And he's like, make me an omelet. He goes, put some morels on there. And I think it was Wolfgang or what's his name? Why can't I think of the Asian guy's name? The one who's his co-star. Roy Choi was like, oh, you put those morels on there, you can charge $20 for that omelet.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I just made tonight a chanterelle chestnut pie.
Very cool. Well, I think you might be looking at my dinner.
You're eating crumble? Do you have
I might be eating crumble. Yeah, remember, it's 8 o'clock where we are right now. There's a good chance I'm eating this.
Right. Do you have ice cream ready?
Oh, yeah, we got ice cream.
Okay, good. Sweet.
It's just over there. Oh, man. All right. I think we're coming up on 5 minutes soon, no?
Yep.
How much time we got?
It's been 6.
Oh.
Okay, so now we're going to get our water. You're gonna put water in now, and you're gonna get a lid, something to cover that with.
Bam! I got a lid. Okay.
Cool. So we're gonna add our spices, our pumpkin spice, and our cinnamon.
How much water?
Half a cup.
Should I wait to add the water until I have all the spices ready?
Sure. Put the spices, mix it with the tongs, add the water, put the lid on.
Okay, so I've got the water. We're doing pumpkin pie spice.
Yep.
Right, I got that. What else do we have? Cinnamon?
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
That's it. Now you're gonna mix that up with the tongs and then add the half cup water and then put the lid on.
So I'm gonna put the spices in the water?
You're gonna put the spices right now straight on the apples and then like mix them around with the tongs.
Got it.
Like sauteing it.
Like I've seen on TV?
Yep. You're doing it.
Let me get this so I don't accidentally grab this and burn my hand and curse on the show. Probably add a little bit more of that. Stay tuned, everybody, for after this as you watch me clean up. Add a little bit more. I'm a flavor guy.
Yep.
As my wife says, we eyeball in this house.
It's good. We eyeball in this house too. Is there another way?
I would have to say that your eyeball is probably much better than my eyeball. This smells absolutely delicious, I have to say.
So glad.
All right, let's put the water. We put the water in and we cover it.
Yes, please. Half cup.
Even that back out. And let's cover you. All right.
Okay, so I will keep the time again for 15 minutes, okay?
Cool. Oh, now I got to fill 15 minutes of airtime?
Yes.
Should have thought about this better. So talk to me. You were a hemp farmer before. How did you get into hemp farming? Like I expected maybe you to say, yeah, I tried a CBD company or something along those lines, but an actual hemp farmer. I mean, was that just part of the journey with being a chef or?
Well, in 2014, I had been pretty active. There was a ballot initiative in Colorado to label GMOs, and I was pretty involved in that. And it failed. And at that point, I was always into like local food, organic food, non-GMO. But then it hit my radar about body care products. It didn't even occur to me that they were like laden with endocrine, adrenal, menstrual cycle disruptors and that they were toxic to humans. I didn't even know.
It's crazy the amount of stuff that, not to cut you off, but it's crazy the amount of stuff that we look at or we buy every day and you don't realize what's in it or what it's doing to you, right? And I think you're exposing a lot of that right now, which is awesome.
Right. And I've spoken on this before, like, when I at conferences and stuff, but it's like when we are consumers, there is kind of like this agreement, I think, that when you walk into the store and all these things are on the shelf, that they're safe. And that's actually not true. And so we really have to empower ourselves. I mean, to be educated consumers and to actually pick up those bottles and read the labels. And just because something's for your skin, like I think with skincare, we allow more room for not understanding the ingredients, right? Like,
yeah.
But there's more of like, I think there's like more of this like general acceptance of not understanding what things mean. And so at any rate, you want to check the apples real quick and make sure it's like just want it to simmer. So you would turn it down a little bit, maybe.
Okay, yeah, it's simmering. Or it's boiling a little. Turn it down.
We're gonna bring it down to simmer.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh, that looks so good.
So I made this body cream. I was going on this trip with some girlfriends, and I wanted to make everyone like a gift basket. And so up to that point, I had only been doing like everything I created was for eating. And so at this point, I was like, I'm going to make a body cream that's vegan that we can eat. And that's what I did. And it had 5 ingredients. And so in that fall, and hemp was part of it. Hemp was in that recipe, hemp seed oil. And in that fall of 2014, my friend and my partner and I were like, we wanted to start a cannabis dispensary. But even then it was so cost prohibitive, like really, I mean, no less than 500 and more like 750 G's to even be able to get in the door of doing that. And we're like, that wasn't us. We didn't really at that point, didn't have access to that kind of funding, didn't even really know about getting $1 million funding. And we were like pretty green then. And so my friend was like, hey, someone's making a hemp coffee. And I was like, what is that? What does that even mean? And we found the company and we went and visited their farm and we're like, this is the worst garden we've ever seen in our lives. And like the governor had just been there. Well, actually he wasn't our governor then, but Jared Polis had just been there. And we're like, this is a super shitty farm. And we're like, we're going to start a farm, because I was a gardener and he had been growing cannabis. And that was it. And that was, so 2015, we got a license with the state of Colorado, which back then was $125 to get the license. And now it's $500. And that was it. That was my first grow. And I owned a little 1 acre. I owned an acre property just outside of Boulder. And so we grew on the back third of that acre. And that's where I learned to grow. And that's when I became a farmer at 40.
I love hearing the story, because everything that you do is just like, well, we needed this, or I thought this was wrong, so I wanted to make this, and it was just out of necessity. And you just, every step of the way was just something that you needed in your life or wanted in your life or to share with your friends. And that's what led you to the next step, which, again, going back to your story, I think that's the kind of things that are inspiring people, right? They don't realize that, maybe they do, maybe they don't, that a lot of the problems that they have or the concerns that they have are more broad, right? And by fixing that problem, you actually have a business or a solution or something that you could put into the world, right? And going back to your earlier point, I think there is this kind of, especially when you go to the more natural grocery stores, like a Whole Foods or a Fresh Market or something like that, you just kind of assume that the stuff on the shelf is good for you and that it's okay to put in your body, and you don't even look at it, right? I mean, I learned this when my wife was pregnant. Everything she looked at, she was looking at the ingredients. It had to be organic, this and that. And like the amount of stuff that she wouldn't do, even if there was only a small chance of it harming the baby, it was incredible. So you learn these things. I mean, I just learned this, 2 years ago now. So.
Of course. No. And I think I think the things that have really activated me have been as a parent, being a mommy, and then just thinking about things I never thought of before. What fluoridated water, skincare, certainly the food that we're eating. And and so so becoming a farmer at 40 was really intense and lots of really, really hard work. And I think everyone should farm at some point. And that's why I love the idea of a kibbutz, because it's like growing food is hard. And I think it's something we all need to know how to do. And certainly, like, I think, another thing that came out with COVID is like our food system, and people even thinking more about where their food is coming from, like what are we eating? And I think it's a really important time for everybody to have a garden. We should all garden.
I feel similar to a point, because I am very much a spoiled city boy. I need my roof over my head. I need my fully functioning bathroom with running water. I need my AC or heat, depending on where I am. But outside of that, I'm all good with being one with nature and everything else like that. I need to make sure I have my comforts, right? I make the joke. I took a trip, like 5 years ago to Machu Picchu, and it's absolutely incredible. Like one of the greatest places I've ever been to. But the joke is we really wanted to do the Incan Trail, which is a 5-day hike leading up to Machu Picchu. And I was absolutely cool with all of it, except for sleeping in a tent for 5 nights and cooking my own food, because that's not something I've ever done before. And I joked to my wife, like, I'd be super cool if we can do it. And if we hiked from hotel to hotel or from cabin to cabin, as long as there was a bathroom and a bed would have been fine. But maybe that'll change. But hey, there's still a few of us spoiled city people here.
Well, so how did that work out for you?
We ended up just doing we did the train ride to Aguas Calientes, and we just spent the day. We did Machu Picchu. We did Huayna Picchu behind it. We went up to the wing. We basically ended up just spending like 15 hours at Machu Picchu. So we were one of the first people up there in the morning, and some of the last people to leave at the end of the day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the place was absolutely incredible. I mean, I remember we hiked something like 16 miles. Like, it was ridiculous. It was, and we took pictures everywhere. It was just one of the most breathtaking places I had ever gone to. And then, of course, in my fashion, in line with what I had just told you about myself, we took this beautiful train back to Cusco that was like this 1930s Pullman car with all these crystal fixings. They had a band, they had a bar car, there was a 4-course meal. So, I did the up with nature in Machu Picchu, and then I did my spoiled train ride home. But it was a blast from the past, though. It was like just an experience you don't really, and I've been on trains in Italy, modern trains, and they're great. It wasn't like this like old style train with the open ceiling and this beautiful meal that you had. It was, I know that Machu Picchu is closed right now and things go back to normal. If there's any place in the world I recommend going, it's definitely Cusco, Aguas Calientes, Machu Picchu. That was an incredible trip.
Wow, I love it so much. That sounds that's like bucket list.
Yeah, and I will say, so it's folks. The stairs are like the width of this knife when you go up to Machu Picchu and everything else. They were definitely smaller than us. So someone like me who's a size 13 shoe, I'm like going sideways. And there are a few times where, you're on a walkway about this wide, and right to your right here is like a 1,000-foot drop to your death. So it's scary, but it's well worth it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's so good for traveling. 1 second. I'm so sorry. I had an unexpected guest too. Can you close the door?
Check on our apples. Make sure I'm doing this right. Oh, so good. Steal a little piece here while you're not paying attention. That's going to burn me. A little bit hotter than I needed it to be, but that was absolutely delicious. I just snuck a piece of apple.
Good. I'm so glad.
It didn't burn my mouth either. That's the more impressive part.
Good. So sorry. I'm so sorry. I have my kids, and
no, don't apologize. The only reason I have this much freedom is mine sleeping.
Yeah, I have 3, and they're very much awake. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that, yeah, I took a trip, and I've been to the third world before, and I joke with my kids. I'm like, you guys need a trip to Haiti. You guys need to, because you have so many comforts, and there's like spoiled. And I think, I wish I had gone when I was younger, because it just, the perspective that you get from going places like that and sleeping in a tent on the side of a mountain and making your own food, and like sometimes, and being on a bus that you don't know if it's going to make it around the bend, or, I've been in places like in Nepal where it was like somebody's job was to like hang outside the bus and like ring this bell when there was a water buffalo in the road, and you're like, what? And then you're like, nothing's like the brochure. Like, I remember being like the brochure, like, where's the TV? Like, where's this room? And yeah, I think travel is so awesome. And I love train trips too. That I took a really special train from, I took a train from, to Zurich from Paris. And then from Zurich, we went to this place called Chur on a train, just to take this special train called the Bernina Express to Italy through the Alps. And it was
Italy. So Italy, don't even get me started on Italy. My favorite trip I've ever been on. I had a good friend of mine got married in Italy, and we flew to Venice, did 3 days in Venice. We did a day in Florence before the wedding, 3 days in Tuscany for the wedding. From there, we went down to Positano. We spent one of the days in Positano on the island of Capri, back to Positano, 3 days in Rome, and then flew home. best experience of my life. Listen, it wasn't the one with nature trip and anything else. It was the complete opposite of that. But the food, holy crap, the wine. I'm not even a huge wine drinker, and I did not have a bad glass of wine on that trip. And it's a funny story we share with my friends. My buddy got married at a vineyard, and they had a barrel of wine, fresh wine right there. And I think the Thursday night before the wedding, I must have had 18 to 20 glasses of red wine. Woke up the next day. Now, this was over probably like a 5-hour period, right? But
yeah.
Listen, we were partying. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to no, we were partying, but I woke up the next day and I didn't have the slightest hangover. It's just incredible what they do over there.
Amazing. It's my favorite country in the whole world out of 175.
They know what they're doing over there.
I want a little place there.
Yeah.
You got to sell a lot of hemp books.
Yeah, you do.
So I could do that.
What part of Italy? Northern, southern?
I love, I don't know. I'm kind of torn between like the Friuli region, which I've been there before. That's more north. And then I also really, really love Tuscany. I've spent like 10 days there before and I love it so much. A lot of the places that you said, I didn't go to Rome and I didn't go to Positano, but I was all up around Tuscany and Siena and San Gimignano and Florida,
Listen, Rome is amazing. You have the historical part of Rome, but at the end of the day, it is a city, right? It feels, I don't want to say it feels like being in New York, but there are parts of it that kind of feel like you're in Manhattan, Chicago, something like that. But however, from a culinary standpoint, you have all these great chefs that have opened these amazing restaurants. And so one of the places I went to, I could probably say it on this show because I don't have nearly as many followers as Bourdain, and unfortunately he's not around anymore, but it was a place called Roma Sparita. And it was the first time I ever had cacio e pepe. And first of all, when I went to Italy, the chefs or the waiters and everything else, I'm like, I want this, I want this. They're like, no. And they would say like, you want that and that and that. And I'm like sitting there and go, why doesn't anybody let me order what I want? And thank God they didn't, because I got something better. But I remember the chef there, I'm like, I'm going to have this as an appetizer and this and this. He goes, no. And he goes, this is what I'm bringing you. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even feel like fighting you. And it was cacio e pepe, which people who don't know what it is, it's essentially like Roman mac and cheese. It was a Roman peasant dish where it's like a bucatini with this Parmesan cheese sauce that you make with pasta water and Parmesan cheese and fresh cracked pepper. It is one of the greatest pasta dishes that you can have. And they serve it in this hard Parmesan cheese bowl. And then I find out that this is Anthony Bourdain's favorite place to have cacio e pepe, so much so that on his show, he wouldn't call it out by name because he didn't want it to get blown up, right? Which is incredible.
That's amazing.
One of the best meals I've ever had.
Wow, I love it. And I love Anthony Bourdain so much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they say that Bourdain essentially defined what a travel cooking show or travel show should be. So anybody else who's doing anything else is just doing their best version of his show.
Wow, for sure. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we're at our time.
Okay. Should we still have water in here or should it have been boiled out?
Well, what we could do if there's still water in there right now is take the lid off and just turn it up for a few minutes.
Okay.
And get that water out.
Yeah, not a lot in there.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so now you're going to also, while you're doing that, we want to preheat the oven to 350.
That's something I already did.
Okay, good.
I've seen enough cooking shows to know that one.
Good.
So I think a pizza, I need a bowl now.
Yeah, now we're going to put together the crumble.
Okay, that should be big enough. All right.
Okay, so we're going to put these ingredients in there. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, 1/4 cup sugar.
Sugar. Okay, I probably should have just. Let me get these real quick. I'll just do it as you call them out to make it easy.
Okay.
Yeah, 1/4 cup of sugar. Bam.
Okay, 1/4 cup hemp hearts.
Open these up fresh. If any of you food brands that are watching this want to sponsor this show, we're using your products.
I know.
Okay.
What is that? Is that Manitoba Harvest?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that not good?
No, it's good. It's great.
I had never bought them before. I just went on Amazon and tried them.
Really? Okay, so then now we want to put a 1/4 cup of the gluten-free flour.
Got that. Shockingly. Bam.
Okay, and then another 2 tablespoons of that.
Another 2 tablespoons of that. What nobody sees is I have an extension cord I'm hopping over, so we're going to use the old-fashioned tablespoon of flour, right?
Perfect. Yes, please.
1, 2. Okay.
Okay, awesome. So using that same spoon, you can just mix it all together. Perfect. Okay, then you're going to add the plant-based butter, and we're going to use 6 tablespoons of that.
All right. Ruh-roh. All right. May not be plant-based butter. So
that's okay. You can substitute.
We're going to lie.
You can substitute with butter. This is the opposite, where you can substitute with butter.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you have that in, you're going to just start using your hands.
Okay.
And you're going to work the butter into the flour and the sugar and the hemp.
All right. Now we're really going to get one with nature here.
Yeah. So do that for like a minute or two. Yeah.
I'm going to do the smart thing and get the towel to wipe my hands up before I start mixing it.
Super smart.
All right. Let's work this butter in here. I feel like I'm making meatballs.
How are your apples?
Oh, they look great, and the water's almost gone.
Okay, perfect.
It's actually how I learned to cook. So I never cooked growing up. My roommate in college, it was Italian, and his mom was not a chef, but like, an Italian mom. So we would do Sunday dinners in college, and I would help him cook, and that's where I started falling in love with it. We literally, every Sunday we'd go out, we'd make this huge Italian feast with pasta and meatballs, and we do chicken parm or stromboli and all this stuff. That. Yeah, it used to be our Sunday nights. We were some nice college kids. We would make an Italian feast when we watched The Sopranos and Entourage and all the Sunday night HBO lineup.
Yeah, that's OG.
Oh, yeah.
I was just thinking about Tony Soprano.
Oh, it's probably my New Jersey accent.
He died too.
We don't know if he died. Well, the actor did. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, that's true.
I know. I mean, you lose a lot of great ones.
You do.
Yeah, I think we're mixed here.
I think it's mixed. So now you want to turn off your apples. Maybe give them one more, maybe when you wipe off your hands, you can mix with the tongs, the apples one more time.
Okay.
Get some of those more crunchy, maybe a little crunchy from the bottom, and mix it around.
I like your style.
Yeah.
The first time I've ever left camera on show. This is fun. May not be our last cooking episode after all. Oh, look at those crispy apples. Definitely could have put more apples in the pan. That's my fault, but hey, when people make this on their own, let's even that out. This is apple crumble for 2.
Perfect.
All right, so we're gonna put this on that.
Yeah, you're gonna kind of level out the apples, but you don't want to smush them.
Okay.
And then you're gonna just kind of you're going to work that onto the top there. So you're kind of dropping pieces, drop it like all around, and then you're going to kind of just touch the top lightly with your fingers or that spatula and just kind of spread it so it's somewhat even without burning yourself.
I can't make a promise on that second part. You look awesome. This is so much fun. We're definitely going to have to do this again.
I know. Next time we can make like a savory thing.
Okay. I think next time we got to try to do this in person so I can just watch you do this and I can have all the fun.
I know. I can't wait.
And I could just sit back and make the jokes.
I've never wanted to see you so bad because then that means I could be flying and everything's fine.
Oh, you're telling me. We started doing this podcast and everyone's like, when you make it out to California, come by our office, that and the other. I'm like, you know, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. That's why we're doing this via Zoom.
Yep. Staying on Zoom for a while.
All right. Any more? I think that is the best we're going to get.
Okay. Are you covered up there? Did you cover that up? Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. And then this goes directly in the oven or?
Directly in the oven for 30, 35 minutes.
All right. So folks, we're not going to see the end of this, but I promise I will post a picture on our Instagram so everybody can check out the finished product because we've been doing this for over an hour already. So Shadi, this was absolutely incredible. I had so much fun doing this. I don't get to tell stories that often, which was fun. I got to hear your stories, which was really cool. And we got to cook something, which, I mean, hey, I got dinner in the oven already. Honey, we're eating good tonight.
Papa's in the kitchen. Thank you so much.
No, thanks. So wait, no, let's not let you go yet. So we talked about the book. Give us a book, where we can find it, websites, where people can buy it, all the plug information.
Okay, yes, please. So everybody can go to www.hempcanchangetheworld.com. Hempcanchangetheworld.com, and that's where you can buy the hemp book, the hemp paper book, which is a limited edition. So that we only have so many of those. And then there's also a PDF version for people to purchase. And then there are some of those farm dinners and events for the tour already on the website. So if anybody wants to make sure to have their spot at that Kush dinner, because like right now we're doing it based on kind of a COVID coexistence. So it's not going to be our large numbers. So I would recommend that. And then for Instagram, we do a lot on Instagram under Feed Your Vibe. That's just my handle, Feed Your Vibe on Instagram. And if anybody wants to connect with us, if they want to be involved in the project or they want to be involved in our hemp collective, then please shoot us an email at hempcanchangetheworld@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being the first ever cooking episode of Elevate Your Grind.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sweet. So thank you everybody at home for watching and bearing with us. I know this is different than you expected. I can tell from the comments. It seems to be pretty popular. We're probably going to have Shadi back at some point and do this again. Maybe we'll be able to do it in person, but I'm going to try to make it out west for that dinner. Certainly we'll link up about that. Folks, again, Thursday, we have our edibles panel. You saw me make food. Now talk to professionals who do this for a living. Obviously not full meals like this, but if you're interested in edibles, that's going to be Thursday at 4:20 p.m. Join tlab.com. Thursday after the panel at 6:30 p.m., my good friend Steve Ernest will be joining me. We're going to be talking about the cannabis market, cannabis investments, both public and private stocks. That's going to be a great conversation. I'll be able to contribute to that conversation more because I know a little bit about that. And then we've got some great episodes coming up next week. If you missed this episode and you want to catch it again, give us about a week or two. We're going to have this on our YouTube. You can follow us along. You can watch this recipe. And if you want to make this yourself, go out, buy the book. You're doing something good for the environment. You're helping Last Prisoner Project. And if you're like me and you're not into plant-based stuff, I promise you the second you open these pages, you're going to find something you like. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/elevateyourgrind. Folks, this has been probably one of my favorite episodes of Elevate Your Grind. And we'll see you on Thursday.